I won an abandoned galactic cruiser at a no-bid auction. The inside changed everything. Elior Vance had never imagined winning anything in his life. Most of the time, he scraped by, fixing broken machines, repairing old satellites, and occasionally scavenging forgotten tech from abandoned space stations. Life was small, quiet, and predictable, or as predictable as life could get in the outer fringes of human-colonized space. That is why, standing on the cold, metallic floor of Station Arcturus 9, Elior felt completely out of place. The station's auction hall was enormous, its walls shining with polished steel and screens flashing endless bids. But this auction was different. This was a no-bid auction, meaning most of the crowd didn't even need to pay. They just waved their hands at the auctioneer and walked away with treasures worth more than small planets. Eller tightened the strap of his worn satchel. He had less than a quarter of what the richest bidders were carrying in credits, and yet, here he was. The prize? A galactic cruiser, rumored to be abandoned for decades, floating somewhere at the edge of the Halara sector. Most people said it was worthless, a relic, a ghost ship. Abandoned and empty. One rich merchant whispered to another as they passed. Probably nothing but dust and broken circuits. Elior's heart raced. To him, abandoned meant opportunity. A ship that size, even half working, could change his life forever. He could repair it, sell it, or even explore systems no one dared to enter. The thought made his fingers itch with excitement. The auctioneer, a tall, sharp-eyed woman with silver streaks in her hair, spoke clearly, her voice echoing through the hall. Up for bid. Lot 92, the galactic cruiser Etherean's Shadow. No bids yet. Anyone? Going once. Going twice? The rich crowd murmured, but no one moved. The ship had been forgotten, exactly as Elior had hoped. Elior swallowed his fear. I'll take it, he said, his voice barely louder than a whisper. The hall went silent. The auctioneer blinked. Pardon? I said I'll take it. I'll pay the starting price. A laugh echoed through the hall. One of the merchants, a tall man with cybernetic arms, leaned over. Kid, do you know what you're saying? That ship hasn't seen a human crew in 40 years. It's a floating tomb. Elior smiled faintly. I like tombs, he said simply. The auctioneer raised her eyebrows but nodded. Very well. Lot 92 goes to the young man from Sector Kappa. Congratulations. It felt surreal. He had won. No bidding wars, no complications, just pure impossible luck. Or maybe, Elior thought, fate had a sense of humor. A week later, Elior floated through the airlock of Etherean's Shadow. The ship was enormous, far bigger than he had imagined. Its hull gleamed faintly, reflecting the stars around it. There were no signs of life, no flickering lights, only the soft hum of dormant machinery. Inside, the corridors were wide, polished, and silent. Dust floated in the beams of his flashlight, sparkling like tiny stars. Panels lined the walls, some blinking faintly, as if testing his presence. Elior's heart beat faster. Every corner of the cruiser whispered secrets, old stories of its crew and the missions it had carried out decades ago. This is amazing, he whispered to himself. The main control deck was larger than any he had ever seen. Rows of seats faced an enormous viewing window, showing a clear panorama of space. The captain's chair in the center looked almost untouched, and then, in the middle of the room, a strange control panel glowed faintly, responding to his approach. Elior hesitated. His instincts screamed caution, but curiosity pushed him forward. He touched the panel. Immediately, lights blinked across the deck, screens flickered to life, and a calm, mechanical voice echoed around him. Greetings, authorized user recognized. Hi? The voice was soothing, measured, almost human, but with a resonance that made him shiver. I am Etherean. Cruiser systems are operational. Welcome aboard. Elior's mouth went dry. The ship spoke to him. He staggered back, trying to process it. You're alive, in a manner of speaking, Etherean replied. All systems functional, awaiting commands. Ilior felt both fear and wonder. He had expected dust, decay, maybe a few working engines. He had not expected a living ship. Over the next few hours, Eleanor explored every corridor. Storage bays held crates of preserved supplies, some labeled in languages he could barely recognize. The crew quarters were eerie in their silence. Beds still made as if the occupants might return any second. In the engineering bay, massive engines rested like dormant beasts, waiting for a pilot brave enough to wake them. When he returned to the main deck, the panel blinked again. "Shall I initiate a full system scan?" Etherian asked. Ilior hesitated. "Scan everything?" "Yes. Full diagnostic. Operational readiness will be reported." Lights dimmed and then brightened. Screens filled with streams of data. The ship hummed like a giant waking from a deep sleep. "Life support, online," Etherian recited. "Navigation systems, online. Defense systems, online. Data archives, online. Cruiser readiness, 87%. 87%? Elior asked. "Operational capacity is high, but some systems require minor repair. Crew protocols inactive due to absence of personnel. Manual override available to user." This wasn't just a ship, it was a fortress, a library, and a companion, all in one. The possibilities swirled in his mind. He could travel beyond the Hylara sector, visit uncharted systems, or uncover secrets lost to time. But a small voice of doubt crept in. What had happened to the original crew? Why was the ship abandoned? And why was it left in such perfect condition? As night, or what counted for night in the cold, artificial lighting of space, fell, Elior settled into the captain's chair. He ran his hands along the armrests, feeling the subtle hum of the cruiser beneath him. Etherian spoke again, gently. "I have reviewed your personal files, Elior Vance. You are inexperienced in ship command, but your mechanical aptitude and problem-solving skills are high. I will assist." "Assist, or control me." Etherian's calm tone gave him comfort. "Assist. You are in command. My function is to enhance your capabilities, not replace them." Elior nodded slowly, feeling a mix of awe and responsibility. "Then, let's see what this ship can do." Hours passed as Elior familiarized himself with the cruiser. The control panels were intuitive, responding to his touch with almost human-like understanding. Etherian guided him through basic maneuvers, checking engines, calibrating sensors, testing life support. Slowly, the ship seemed to recognize him, not just as a passenger, but as someone it could trust. At the far end of the deck, Elior noticed a small hatch, almost hidden. Curiosity tugged at him. Inside was a chamber that glowed faintly, filled with objects he didn't understand. Crystalline devices, small glowing orbs, and holographic storage units lined the walls. "Do not remove without authorization from cruiser AI." Elior hesitated, then smiled. "Authorization granted," he whispered. The ship responded with a soft chime, and a holographic interface unfolded before him. Strings of data appeared: maps, star charts, mission logs, and records of ancient conflicts between civilizations long forgotten. Elicor's eyes widened. This is incredible," he breathed. I can learn everything." Etherian's voice filled the chamber. "You may. Knowledge is your right as the current operator of this vessel, but beware. Some information may be dangerous if misused." Elior nodded. "I'll be careful, I think." He spent the rest of the night exploring the ship's archives, absorbing stories of battles, discoveries, and sacrifices made across galaxies. Every corner of the cruiser whispered promise, adventure, knowledge, and power, but also warning. Just as Elior felt he could finally rest, a faint vibration shivered through the hull. Sensors flickered. On the distant edge of the star charts, a blip appeared, a tiny, fast-moving object approaching the ship. Elior's heart skipped. "A visitor," he muttered. Etherian's tone remained calm. "Unknown. Object approaching. No immediate threat detected, but I advise caution." He had won the ship by chance, stumbled into a relic of the past, and now something, or someone, was coming. For the first time in his life, Elior felt the thrill of true adventure. And he knew, deep down, that nothing would ever be the same again. The blip on the sensors had Elior's stomach twisting. He had no idea who or what was approaching Etherian shadow, yet he couldn't ignore it. Every instinct in his body told him to prepare, but the thrill of the unknown also pulled him forward. "Etherion," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "What is that object?" "Unknown," the AI replied calmly. "Shape and size are consistent with a small spacecraft. Speed suggests a scouting vessel, but I cannot confirm origin. I recommend remaining inside cruiser safe zones." Eliar nodded. "Safe zones? Got it. And if it's hostile, defensive systems are partially offline. I can reactivate primary shielding and energy-based countermeasures, but full functionality requires operator authorization." He had never commanded a ship like this, let alone defended one. Yet, the AI's calmness gave him a strange confidence. He floated to the command console and pressed the holographic interface. Panels hummed, lights glowed, and the ship seemed to respond to his hesitance, as if it understood it. "Okay," he muttered, "let's see what you can do." The small ship drew closer, and Elior felt the hum of Etherian shadow through the deck under his hands. The cruiser was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the vessel approaching, yet Elior felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. "Scanning," Etherian said. "Object is unregistered. Sensors indicate humanoid crew. No weapons detected at present, but energy output is low, possibly indicating stealth or reconnaissance craft." Humanoid? "Probably explorers or scavengers like me then." "Possibly," the AI replied. "Caution advised. Visual confirmation required." The viewing window adjusted automatically, widening to show the small ship in sharper detail. It was sleek, dark, and low profile, almost like a shadow against the stars. Its occupants were visible in the cockpit, 3 figures, 2 of them gesturing and pointing, clearly unaware of how massive Etherian shadow truly was. Elior leaned closer, curiosity overcoming fear. "They have no idea what they're up against." "Correct," the AI said. "They are not aware of cruiser capabilities." The ship continued its slow approach. Elior had to decide whether to wait or make the first move. He floated over the main deck, looking at the console, then back at the vast interior of the cruiser. Every system hummed under his hands, alive and responsive, yet obedient to him. "You trust me?" he asked the AI quietly. "I do not possess emotions in a human sense," Etherian replied, "but I recognize operator competence increases system efficiency. You have shown curiosity, caution, and intelligence. These traits inspire operational alignment." Eliar grinned. "That's the nicest way anyone or anything has ever said they trust me." Hours passed as he guided the ship through tests and calibrations. Etherian shadow responded flawlessly. Engines purred, shields flared to life, and navigation systems adjusted themselves automatically, predicting movements far faster than Elior could process. The small ship continued its slow approach, but by now, Elior felt a strange bond with the cruiser, as if it had awakened not just physically, but emotionally to his presence. Suddenly, the small ship stopped moving. Its crew was frozen on the bridge, staring at the massive cruiser. Elior leaned back in the captain's chair, feeling a mix of power and responsibility. "You like me?" he muttered half-jokingly to the AI. "I would describe our relationship as cooperative," Etherian said. "Operator alignment is above 70%. Human decisions have so far proven effective." Elior laughed, a light sound that echoed through the empty deck. "Effective? Okay, that's good enough for me." As night, or the closest thing to night in space, stretched on, Elior explored deeper into the cruiser. He discovered storage rooms filled with ancient equipment and holographic maps of star systems humans no longer visited. There were logs, some over 100 years old, detailing the missions of the cruiser's original crew. Etherion guided him through the archives. These are historical records. They detail fleet operations, defense missions, and encounters with species now extinct or lost to time. Elior's eyes widened. Lost? That's incredible. These people were explorers, warriors, scientists, all at once. Yes, Aetherian replied. The cruiser was built to protect civilizations across the galaxy. Crew was highly trained and selected for intelligence, courage, and moral judgment. Moral judgment? Yes. Humans, by their nature, were often unpredictable. The fleet required crews capable of making decisions with both intellect and empathy. Decisions that technology alone could not replicate. Alior felt a chill run down his spine. This ship, abandoned for decades, had chosen him, out of all humans in the galaxy, to awaken it. And it trusted him because he had something the original crew had: curiosity balanced with conscience. The small ship finally approached close enough to communicate. Elor activated the interface. The voice from the other ship was tense. Identify yourself, one of the occupants called. This is the Syndicate Scout. Identifying abandoned cruiser Aetherian's shadow. Step away immediately. Elior's heart skipped. The word syndicate was familiar. Pirates, mercenaries, scavengers who worked across sectors stealing valuable technology. They weren't here to explore. I'm Elior Vance, he said, keeping calm. This cruiser, it belongs to me now. Please, leave peacefully. There was silence for a moment. Then, a voice spat through static, clearly annoyed. Kid, we don't leave until we know what you've found. Step aside, or we take it by force. Elior's stomach clenched, but he felt a strange confidence. Aetherian's shadow hummed under his hands. He had never been in a battle before, but somehow he knew he wasn't alone. You heard him, he said softly. Aetherian, ready defensive systems. The AI responded immediately. Shields activating, energy distribution at 60%. Weapons offline but available. I will guide targeting, but manual engagement is at your discretion. Elior nodded. We won't fire unless necessary. Hours passed in tense silence. Elor and the small ship mirrored each other in space, neither daring to move first. Finally, the Syndicate craft sent a small drone toward the cruiser. A test. Elor's hands moved instinctively across the controls. Aetherian guided him, energy flowing through the cruiser's systems like a river obeying his will. The drone was caught in a magnetic net, immobilized. Elior held his breath, staring at the small object flailing helplessly. They'll think twice now, Aetherian said calmly. Yeah, Elior muttered, realizing for the first time that he had actually commanded a ship in a confrontation. After the drone retreated, Elior returned to the archives. He needed distraction, something to occupy his mind, and also understand why this ship had been abandoned. Hours of logs revealed the ship's glory days, patrols across uncharted space, rescue missions of stranded colonies, battles against unknown threats, and diplomacy with alien species humans had forgotten. But then the logs grew ominous. The last few entries were cryptic, describing a mission beyond the mapped stars, after which communication with the fleet ceased. Crew logs ended abruptly. Eleanor felt a chill. What happened to them? He whispered. Unknown, Aetherian replied. Fleet records indicate disappearance. Speculation suggests spatial anomalies or hostile encounters. Exact details lost. Elior leaned back. The cruiser had been abandoned, yes, but it had survived alone, waiting decades for someone to find it. And now, here he was, small and inexperienced, yet trusted by a ship designed to protect the galaxy. He realized then that this wasn't just a chance discovery. It was an opportunity. A chance to explore, to protect, to prove that humanity could rise above fear and greed. A faint alarm flickered on the console. Another object appeared on the sensors, faster this time. The Syndicate. They were coming back, and they meant business. Elior's heart pounded. He floated back to the command deck, staring at the stars. All right, Aetherian, he said. Let's see what we can really do. The ship responded with a low hum of power, like a giant stretching awake. Lights flickered across the decks, shields aligned, engines ready. The AI's voice was calm, measured. You are the operator. Bet your decisions will guide outcome. I am ready to follow your lead.
Elior swallowed, gripping the console.
For the first time, he didn't feel small. He didn't feel alone. He felt alive. And as the stars blurred past the viewing window, he knew the adventure was only beginning. The stars stretched endlessly outside Ethereum's shadow, cold and silent. Yet Elior felt the heat of tension in the control deck. The Syndicate's ships had returned, faster this time, aggressive and precise. Their small craft darted like insects, but Elior knew that sheer numbers and their ruthlessness made them dangerous. "Ethereum," he said, gripping the control console. "What's their approach vector? Can we outrun them?" The AI's calm voice responded, steady as always. "They are attempting to encircle us. Outrunning them is possible, but they anticipate basic maneuvers. Strategic positioning recommended. Offensive systems can be deployed if necessary." Ilya nodded. He had never fired a weapon in his life, yet here he was, responsible for a ship that could obliterate anything in its path. His palms were sweaty, but he felt a strange surge of clarity. Fear was there, yes, but it was tempered by responsibility, by the knowledge that he wasn't just protecting himself, he was protecting a living ship, and perhaps countless others in the galaxy. The Syndicate craft moved in formation. Their leader's voice crackled through the comms. "Eleor Vance! Abandon the cruiser, or you'll regret it." "That ship belongs to the Syndicate." Eleor's lips tightened. "I don't think so," he muttered. "Ethereum, hold shields at maximum, prepare defensive protocols, but no offensive fire unless I authorize it." "Understood," the AI replied. Operator discretion confirmed. The small ships attacked, darting closer like predatory birds. Their lasers hit Ethereum's shadow, but the shields absorbed the impact, glowing under the assault. The sheer scale of the cruiser dwarfed the attackers. They had underestimated it. And him. Elor floated in zero gravity, his mind racing. He had a choice: fight and risk unnecessary destruction, or find another way. He remembered what the AI had told him about the original crew: intelligence paired with empathy, courage paired with conscience. Humans were powerful not just because they could fight. They could choose wisely, redirect energy to shields around the command deck. Elior said, "Focus power on engines to keep us mobile. Ethereum, scan for escape routes near the civilian station in the system." "Recommendation noted," Ethereum replied. "Multiple paths exist, but the station is within Syndicate firing range." Elior's stomach twisted. The station was home to dozens of civilians, miners, traders, families who had no idea war was coming. "Then we save them," he said firmly. "Take us there." The ship responded immediately, engines roaring as the cruiser pivoted with precision. The Syndicate fired relentlessly, but their small craft were no match for Ethereum's shadow's speed and agility when guided by a clever mind. Elior's hands danced over the controls, shifting power, redirecting shields, coordinating movement like a conductor leading a massive orchestra. When they neared the station, Elior could see the miners and traders looking up at the sky, fear in their eyes as the Syndicate ships hovered above. Elior took a deep breath. "We can't just blast them away. They'll hit the station. We need a distraction." Ethereum hummed softly. "I can deploy holographic decoys and create light distortions to confuse them. Make them chase shadows, not real targets." The deck lit up with holographic ships, twin shadows of Ethereum's shadow darting in every direction. The Syndicate fired at the illusions, their weapons wasted. The real cruiser slipped through the chaos, arriving in orbit above the station. "Evacuate civilians?" Elior asked, scanning the docks. "Yes, automated transport pods available." "Civilians can be lifted safely," the AI replied. Elior pressed the command. Pods launched, each one carrying families and workers to safe zones in orbit. Lights from the station reflected in their wide eyes. Some waved at the cruiser below, unaware that a young salvager had just saved their lives. A cheer of relief escaped Elior's lips, but there was no time to celebrate. The Syndicate wasn't gone. They regrouped, furious that their plan had failed. "Elior," Ethereum said calmly, "they will attempt a concentrated attack. My recommendation? We engage offensive systems." "Offensive? Are you saying fight?" "They have no regard for civilian life and will escalate. Defensive measures alone may be insufficient." Elior swallowed. He had hoped to avoid violence, but the choice had been forced upon him. Still, he remembered something else. Humans had strength not only in weapons, but in ingenuity and moral judgment. He didn't want to destroy the Syndicate unnecessarily. He wanted to win with cleverness, not cruelty. Then we do it smart, he said. Prepare energy nets and disable systems. Aim to disable their engines without destroying the ships completely. Ethereum's systems hummed as the weapons reconfigured. Streams of energy flowed, forming invisible nets in space. The Syndicate ships charged. Elior held his breath and gave the command. Within seconds, the energy nets flared, enveloping the Syndicate vessels. Their engines sputtered and the ship spun out of control. Laser fire fizzled against the cruiser's shields. The attackers were trapped, immobilized but unharmed, a perfect victory that relied on strategy, not bloodshed. The leader's voice crackled, angry and confused. "Kid, what did you do?" "I used my head," Elior said simply, a small smile forming. "Now leave and never come back." There was silence for a moment. Then the ships broke formation and retreated. Elor sank back into the captain's chair, feeling the adrenaline fade. Etherion's shadow hummed beneath him, a gentle purr of satisfaction. "You did well," Etherion said. "Human decision-making preserved life while neutralizing threat. Efficiency rating, optimal." Elior laughed softly. "Thanks, I think." After the battle, Elior returned to the archives. He needed calm, needed to understand what he had been entrusted with. Hours passed as he read mission logs, technical schematics, and personal journals of the original crew. Each page told stories of courage, exploration, and moral choices. Humans, it seemed, had always been remarkably adaptable, capable of rising to challenges far beyond their size or strength. One log entry caught his attention. It described a species that feared humans, not for our weapons or technology, but because of our unpredictability. Humans combine curiosity, courage, and morality in ways that challenge the natural order, the entry read. They are capable of growth, empathy, and decision-making no other species matches. This wasn't just a ship or an adventure. This was a lesson from history, delivered directly into his hands. Humans were remarkable, and the cruiser seemed to recognize that. He leaned back in the captain's chair, staring at the stars. "So, we're supposed to prove it, huh?" he whispered to himself. "Perhaps," Etherion said softly. "Operator alignment indicates potential for significant influence. Human qualities may shape the outcome of future events." Elir grinned. "Significant influence, huh? That's a lot of responsibility." "Yes," the AI replied, "but also an opportunity." Days passed as Eligor learned the ship. He trained with Etherion, exploring its capabilities and mastering navigation, defense, and communication systems. Each day, he grew more confident. Yet the sense of mystery never left him. Why had the ship been abandoned? Why had the fleet disappeared? And most importantly, what awaited him in the vast stretches of space? Then, a discovery shook him. Deep in the ship's archives, Elior found a cosmic map, charting regions humans had never traveled. Hidden among the stars were records of an alien species, long thought extinct, species that had feared humanity because of our courage and adaptability. The map hinted at worlds rich with life, knowledge, and technology, places where humanity's potential could grow far beyond anything Elior had imagined. He felt a surge of purpose. "We're not just exploring," he whispered to Etherion. "We're proving something about us." "Yes," the AI said. "The potential of humanity is recognized. Your actions will shape how this potential is realized." Elior smiled. "Let's see how far humans can go." But even as he spoke, sensors flickered. Another blip appeared on the edge of the star charts. This time, it was larger, faster, more organized. The Syndicate had returned, and they weren't alone. Elior felt the familiar twist of fear, now tempered with courage. He floated to the command deck, gripping the console. "Etherion," he said. "Let's show them what humans can do, together." The ship responded with a low hum, engines warming, shields flaring. The AI's voice was calm, but proud. "Operator ready. Systems optimized. Let us proceed." And in that moment, Elior realized the true test was not only survival. It was being human, brave, clever, and moral in the face of overwhelming odds. The galaxy was waiting. The stars stretched endlessly outside Etherian's shadow, cold, distant, and infinite. Elikor floated in the captain's chair, gripping the console as the sensors flickered. The Syndicate fleet had returned, larger and more organized than ever. This time it wasn't just a small scouting party. They had reinforcements, heavy weapons, and determination. Elior, Etherian said calmly, multiple hostiles detected. They are armed with high-energy weaponry. Their numbers exceed previous engagement by 12-fold. Elior's stomach twisted, but his hands did not tremble. He had faced them before and survived. He had learned to trust the ship, trust his instincts, and trust the human judgment that had guided him this far. "All right," he muttered. "Let's show them what humans can do." Their leader's voice echoed through the comms, sharp and commanding. "Elior Vance, step aside. Surrender the cruiser now, or we destroy everything in this sector." Elior's eyes narrowed. "I don't surrender," he said quietly. "And I don't think you'll destroy anything without my permission." Etherian responded. "Operator discretion confirmed. All systems are ready. Strategic defensive positioning recommended." Elior took a deep breath and activated the ship's holographic decoy system, deploying dozens of illusions of Etherian's shadow across the stars. Syndicate fire struck the false ships, exploding harmlessly. Meanwhile, he guided the real cruiser through a series of complex maneuvers, weaving between asteroid belts and space debris to confuse the attackers. The Syndicate was skilled, but they underestimated the bond between a human and the ship. Etherian responded to every command instinctively, adjusting shields, engines, and defensive fields faster than Elior could even think. But Elior knew this wasn't enough. The Syndicate would not retreat so easily. He needed a plan, one that used human intelligence and ingenuity, not just firepower. He floated to the control deck's auxiliary terminal and accessed the ship's ancient archives. Among the maps and logs, he found a record labeled the Leviathan Protocol. The text described a system built to protect the galaxy, a massive energy shield and gravity field capable of disabling enemy fleets. Without destruction, something the original crew had never fully activated. "Could we use this?" he asked Etherian. "Yes," the AI said. The Leviathan Protocol was designed to test the operator's morality. It can disable hostile forces, but misuse may cause unintended damage. Operator judgment required. He could wipe out the Syndicate completely with firepower, but that would make him like them, merciless and cruel. Humanity's strength, he remembered, was not in violence, but in empathy and cleverness. "Then we do it smart," he said. "We stop them without hurting anyone." Etherian hummed approval. Systems began to shift. Energy beams spread across the cruiser, flowing into a massive gravitational field that stretched into space. The Leviathan Protocol was coming online. The Syndicate ships surged forward, unaware of the trap. As they crossed the invisible field, engines sputtered, weapons failed, and their ships floated helplessly in orbit. The cruisers were alive, but completely immobilized. Elior had done it. He had neutralized the threat without unnecessary destruction. Operator efficiency, exceptional, Etherian said calmly. Human judgment preserved lives. Outcome optimal. Personality toward death. Elior leaned back, exhaling deeply. "We did it," he said. "I can't believe we did it." After the battle, the civilians in the system cheered as the Syndicate ships drifted harmlessly away. News of a single salvager who had tamed an abandoned galactic cruiser spread across nearby colonies and stations. Humans everywhere began to take notice, realizing that courage, intelligence, and morality were qualities that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Elior didn't bask in the praise. Instead, he returned to the archives of the cruiser, driven by curiosity. The Leviathan Protocol had shown him that humans could face impossible odds without sacrificing their humanity. But there was more to discover. He pored over the ancient maps, data logs, and holo-recordings, uncovering a hidden galactic map that stretched beyond known space. There were systems teeming with life, ancient civilizations that humans had never encountered, and worlds rich with technology, lost to time. Among the records were warnings about a species that had feared humans, not because of their weapons, but because of their potential. Elor smiled. "They feared us," he whispered, "because humans are capable of more than they imagined." Atherion's voice responded softly. "Operator potential recognized. Humanity's capacity for growth and moral judgment is significant. You are an example of this potential." The words filled Elior with pride, not arrogance, but purpose. He realized that this was the beginning of something much larger. Humanity was not meant to be passive observers in the galaxy. Humans were explorers, protectors, and innovators. Over the next weeks, Elior tested the ship, repaired minor systems, and learned to navigate using the cruiser's advanced tools. Each day, he discovered new secrets, hidden labs, preserved specimens, alien technology, and records of battles humans had long forgotten. Atherion's shadow was more than a ship, it was a library, a mentor, and a companion. One evening, while gazing at the stars from the main deck, Elior felt a strange pull, a sense that the galaxy itself was calling him forward. He looked at Aetherion. "Do you think there's more out there for us?" he asked. "Yes," the AI said simply. "The galaxy is vast. Your choices will shape outcomes, not only for yourself, but for humanity. Potential is limitless." For the first time, he truly understood the scale of what lay before him. He wasn't just a salvager anymore. He was a guardian, a pioneer, and a symbol of humanity's potential. Suddenly, a faint flicker appeared on the sensors. A small, unknown craft approached, but this time, it did not attack. Instead, it projected a holographic image. The figure was alien, humanoid, and radiated calm authority. Its voice echoed in the control deck, not hostile, but measured. "Human operator of Aetherian Shadow. We have observed your actions. Your judgment demonstrates qualities worthy of trust. The galaxy has watched humans with caution, but you have proven potential. Continue forward." Elior felt a thrill unlike anything he had ever known. Not fear, not greed, but recognition. He had faced threats, saved lives, and proven that humanity's combination of courage, intelligence, and empathy could stand against any challenge. "Thank you," he whispered. I won't let you down." The projection faded, leaving Elior staring at the stars. He felt smaller than ever, yet somehow larger than life. The next day, Elior made preparations for the next journey. He charted a course beyond known space, following the hints left in the cruiser's logs. Worlds unknown, civilizations lost, mysteries uncountable, all waiting for him. Aetherion hummed in readiness. Course plotted, all systems functional. "Operator, are you prepared?" "More than ever," he said. "Let's go beyond the stars." As the cruiser's engines roared to life, light stretching across space like a river, Elior looked out at the infinite darkness. He thought of the Syndicate, of the civilians, of the crew whose legacy he now carried. And he realized something profound. The galaxy was vast, yes. Dangerous, yes. But humanity, curious, brave, and moral, was wider, stronger, and more capable than anyone or anything had expected. He pressed the throttle. The stars blurred into streaks of light, and for the first time, Elior felt truly free. A journey had ended, but a new one, beyond the edges of known space, was just beginning.